I bought a Tapper colt at the Keeneland September sale and incredibly excited about that purchase. It was a colt that had plenty of size and scope and carried himself with a real presence that drew me to him.
I bought a Tapper colt out of Black Coronas at the Phasey Tipton July sale, out of a Curlin mare, big beautiful horse. We're real excited about him coming up in the spring.
Taprit, standing at Gainesway.
Well, it's the most significant weekend on the Derby Watch Trail so far in 2022. Hi, everybody. Jay Privman along with Marty McGee. Marty, we've got not one, not two, not three, but 4 point-scoring races on the docket. But I dare say the 2 most significant are the Fountain of Youth in Florida, which you will be at Gulfstream Park, and the San Felipe at Santa Anita, where I will be. Let's start by taking a look, Marty, at the Fountain of Youth, in which 5 members of our Derby Watch Top 20 were entered. Right now, only 4 scheduled to run because earlier this morning, we're taping this on Wednesday, Mo Donegal was taken out of the race. I spoke with his trainer, Todd Pletcher, who told me that they were on the fence about running after drawing post 12, but the decision ended up getting made for them because this horse had a slightly elevated temperature this morning. And once that happened, they had to scratch anyway, but he did admit that they probably would have come out. But regardless, there's 4 others in here. I want to get your thoughts not only on Simplification, who finished in front of Mo Donegal last time out in the Holy Bull, but more broadly, how you think this race shapes up.
It sure looks like there's a ton of speed in here, Jay. I mean, I've counted at least 3 horses who you would think would have to go, those being Martanian, High Oak, and probably Oak Captain, maybe even Galt, both of those being sent from their outside post, Galt drawing in off the AEs, because what else are they going to do? And what does that do to horses who have shown speed before, like Simplification? He, of course, got left last time out, but before that, he'd been kind of a speed horse. And then you have Emmanuel, who has just dominated his 2 races, and maybe Dean Delivers, who is stretching out a sprint. So there's probably going to be a crush, with apologies to Tom Durkin, of horses into the first turn in this race, and then who knows how it'll shake out with the short stretch and all that. I think that Simplification, though, will be one of the favorites off how well he ran last time out in the Holy Bull.
Yeah, and Marty, I was really impressed with his race because, as you just alluded to, prior to the Holy Bull, he had been forwardly placed and he was completely taken out of his game. And, as you know, a lot of times when that happens to a young, inexperienced horse, they just chuck it. And I thought he showed a lot of fortitude to overcome that and still run on well for second.
He did. I'd like to see him run like that way again, Jay. Break smoothly and then maybe save some ground. He and Howling Time with Joe Talamo, both of them going to be looking to sit behind all that speed that we've talked about. I think the key to the race might be Emmanuel, and what does he do? What does Luis Saez do in terms of tactics?
Well, let's take a look at Emmanuel's last race. It was at Tampa. He's run twice so far. A maiden winner at Gulfstream, and then an allowance win at Tampa. Marty, this is going to be his stakes debut. Obviously, he's stepping up and facing much better than he's seen so far. Do you think he's capable of beating horses of this quality?
Oh, absolutely. He kind of reminds me of the lightly raced Pletcher horses from days gone by, Jay, where he's just made a real simple step up into a graded race like this. He'll have to trip out cleanly, obviously, but the way he's done the first 2 and the way that both Todd Pletcher and Elliott Walden have talked about it, you would have to think he has big-time capabilities.
Well, you're one of the horses that you talk about, those lightly raced horses that step into stakes. One of them ended up going on to win the Derby. That being Always Dreaming had kind of a similar schedule to this horse so far. We'll see if Emmanuel is good enough to step up here and win. Marty, a horse coming off of a long layoff is Rattle and Roll. This is a horse who you saw at Keeneland last fall win the Breeders' Futurity. Kenny McPeak's got a number of really good 3-year-olds this year, including the horse that you have the current favorite and Smile Happy. Where do you think Rattle and Roll slots in?
Oh, man. I was talking to Kenny about this horse this morning, and he says he's training like a monster, but he also conceded he might need a race or 2 to do his best, so that if it took him 2 races, he would do his best in the Kentucky Derby. But it's been a while since I've watched the Breeders' Futurity. It was tremendous the way he just swept past everybody and won off by himself. So, but that's been 5 months. Breeders' Cup Juvenile, and before that, it seems like not a lot of horses have reproduced their form, Jay. And this is obviously a key step forward for him. And the fact that there is a lot of speed, despite the short stretch at the 16th pole, is where they end the race, the Fountain of Youth. It seems like he will have some horses coming back to him, and he should be able to kick on.
And yeah, and as you mentioned, like you said, with all the speed that's signed up, that certainly should at least flatter him a little bit in that regard. But most significantly, it sounds like this is really a building block, a means to an end for Rattle and Roll. And we'll see if how well he runs and if he can progress off of this race. The fourth and final member of our Derby Watch Top 20, currently scheduled to compete in the Fountain of Youth, is In Due Time. And Marty, it's always to me fascinating to try and figure out, if you think a horse is going to stretch out around 2 turns, if their best races around 1 turn are coming from off the pace. And that's what In Due Time does. I'm always skeptical of horses like this because I wonder if they're better as 1 run, 1 turn kind of horses. What do you think of In Due Time?
Well, I think that his trainer, Kelly Breen, was having the same kind of thoughts, Jay. Like, should I maybe try and go a little bit easier? He said, no, let's just throw him in the deep end of the pool. Let's see how he can do going his first 2 turns against good horses, and we'll see where we stand with him. So I think he would do best to be about mid-pack in here, avoid the crush into the first turn, going and smooth out under Paco and see what happens.
So that's our look at the Fountain of Youth. Again, that's one of the 4 point-scoring races on Saturday, that race being held at Gulfstream, and Marty will be there. I'll be at Santa Anita, where the San Felipe will be run. And this, Marty, is another interesting race regarding a horse trying to stretch out, specifically Forbidden Kingdom, trained by Richard Mandela, comes off a win in the 7-furlong San Vicente. He's had 4 sprints so far. Now he's going to try and go 2 turns. And I know that Mandela early on was a little bit skeptical about this horse being able to handle 2 turns. But when you've got a 3-year-old 2 months out from the Kentucky Derby coming off a stake win in fast time, you got to give him a chance to at least prove if they can do it or not. And he's going to get that chance on Saturday. He's going to be going for the lead. I'm interested in seeing if he's not quite as headstrong as we've seen in the past. He certainly, to me, Marty, looked like he's been learning those lessons. His first couple races, he really wanted to just pop and go. And I thought in the San Vicente, he showed a little bit more controllability for his rider, Juan Hernandez. That said, I'm still not sold on him being a true 1.25 mile type horse. Where are you on Forbidden Kingdom?
Well, I think we're going to see a good test simply because Bob Baffert has a couple of nice-looking horses in there, namely Doppelganger. So this will be a fair test for him, Jay. And, I'm skeptical. I think maybe even his Hall of Fame trainer might be skeptical in terms of how much ground he can get. But this will be the kind of test that we all want to see.
And Doppelganger and another Baffert trainee, Armagnac, both in this race. As you know, the Baffert horse is still not allowed to earn points based on the situation with Baffert and Churchill Downs. There have been some developments regarding that over the last week or so, and there probably will be more in coming days. But our policy to this point at the Racing Forum, and specifically for the Derby Watch, is that until the Baffert horses are allowed to earn points, which would mean some ruling that allows them to stay with Baffert and earn points, or being moved to another trainer. Until either of those things happen, those horses are not going to be on our list, and that includes the likes of Armagnac and Doppelganger in the San Felipe, and also Marty Rockefeller, who's going back to New York to run in the Gotham. That's the other 85-point race, 50 to the winner on Saturday. There's also another race, a 10-point to the winner race at Turfway, the Battaglia. Those are the 4 point-scoring races this weekend. So plenty to cover, and obviously there figures to be a bit of a shakeup in our Derby Watch Top 20. What are you most, going back to the race at Gulfstream, is there anybody there that you're really eager to see kind of step up to the next level?
I'd love to see one of the Dale Roman's horses do some good and get Dale back on the Derby trail. Both of them had some minor Pratfalls along the way. Howling Time had a cough that forced him to miss the Sam Davis. Giant Game had a minor throat surgery following his very poor performance in the Holy Bowl. Dale says that he has righted the ship. Howling Time, I hope, can really trip out with Talamo toward the rail, and Giant Game can run back to his Breeders' Cup race. So those are the two I'd really like to see make some advancement here, Jay.
Well, it should be a terrific day of racing on Saturday. We'll be back next week to recap those races and preview the Tampa Bay Derby, which Marty will be attending. Here at DRF.com, not only will you find, obviously, this video, but we do have a recap, I should say, of last week's Rebel and how that impacted our current Derby Watch Top 20. Well, that's all we've got for this week. For Marty McGee, I'm Jay Privman. Thanks for watching.